So Season 1 of Marvel Rivals has recently dropped, giving us two new heroes, those two being Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman. So how are these heroes? Are they fun to play, or are they annoying to deal with? I'll be going through each of their kits and give my final thoughts about them at the end, so let's start with Mr. Fantastic. Mr. Fantastic's passive is called Elastic Strength. Whenever Mr. Fantastic deals damage with Stretchy Punch or hitting with his abilities, he charges up a meter that increases his damage. Once you reach 100 of your meter, you'll enter a big bulky form, giving you a huge shield health and bonus damage for a total of 6 seconds. Or if you want to, you can leave it early. Next is his weapon called Stretchy Fist. Like the name suggests, Mr. Fantastic uses his fist to punch forward at enemies, and this move is the exact same if you're pressing his melee. Every hit you land gives you 5 charge for Elastic Strength, and since you are just punching, you have no ammo, and this does have the unique effect that you could actually hit multiple enemies if you're swinging side to side. His right click ability is called Descended Grip, and this ability has 2 different effects. Whenever you first use this ability on an enemy, you entangle them and root yourself, while getting 30 charge for Elastic Strength. If you left click on the enemy you have entangled, you'll pull them towards you. However, if you left click on a different enemy, you'll send the 2 of them at each other. However, doing this doesn't give you any extra charge for Elastic Strength. His shift ability is called Reflexive Rubber, which when used for 3 seconds, you're immune to all forms of crowd control and sustain up to 300 damage, and once the duration ends, you will send a projectile back at your enemy. Next is his E ability called Flexible Elongation. This ability allows Mr. Fantastic to send himself to either an ally or an enemy, giving himself a shield. When using on an ally, Mr. Fantastic will give that ally a shield, and when using on an enemy, will damage them. You have 2 charges of this ability, and when using, will give you 30 charge for Elastic Strength. Finally is Mr. Fantastic's ultimate called Brainiac Bounce. Mr. Fantastic will leap up in the air and crashes down, dealing damage and slowing enemies up to 3 times. Each time you land this ultimate, the next leap deals more damage and the slow is stronger. You additionally get an extra leap, gaining a maximum of 6. Now let's move on to his wife, Invisible Woman. Invisible Woman's passive is called Convert Advanced. Whenever Invisible Woman is out of combat for a bit, she will turn invisible and heal herself. Next is her weapon called Orb Projection. This weapon acts similarly like to a boomerang, going back and forth, healing allies and damaging enemies. Next is her melee attack, which acts similar to Garut's melee, with her third hit knocking up enemies. Next is her shift ability called Psionic Vortex. This ability allows Invisible Woman to fire a projectile that creates an area of effect. Enemies in this area will take damage and will slowly be pulled into the center of the vortex. Next is Invisible Woman's E, which is called Force Psychics. When pressing this ability, Invisible Woman has an option to either pull or push back her enemies. Left click to push and right click to pull. Next is her right click ability called Guardian Shield. Invisible Woman places down a shield at a target ally, blocking damage and healing them when they are nearby it. Additionally, if enemies walk through this shield, they are slowed. Next is Invisible Woman's Jump, which when using allows her to jump up in the air and make her invisible. The last of Invisible Woman's kit is her ultimate called Invisible Boundary. Invisible Woman creates a force field that when allies are in, heal them over time and make them unseen by enemies. If an enemy enters into the force field, they are slowed heavily. So what are my thoughts when it comes to these 2 new heroes? Well, I really like them. While I'm not a damage or duelist player, I have a lot of fun when playing Mr. Fantastic, mainly because his kit is just kind of a mini Vanguard, but you can still dish out a nice amount of damage. While also Invisible Woman definitely be the strongest out of the 2, at least in my opinion, she is really fun to play. I especially like her ultimate and how it works, making the enemy team either go in or have to disengage. I do, however, one small complaint, and it's only for Mr. Fantastic, and that is he should have just really been a Vanguard instead of a duelist. Now, I'm not against of adding more tanky duelists into the game, but Mr. Fantastic's kit just feels way more that he was meant to be a Vanguard. He has passive shielding to himself, he provides shielding to allies, and he has a bit of CC in his kit. I really feel like if they just change his health and do some number changes of some of his abilities, he could definitely fit the Vanguard role. But these characters are still really fun to play, and I'll sure be playing them after I'm done making this video. But those are my thoughts on Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, and what did you think? Do you like these two characters or no? Let me know down in the comments below. Also, let me know if you're as excited as I am for the Human Torch and Thane. But that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, hit that like button if you're new to the channel. Hitting that subscribe button would be appreciated. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, and have a good one.